Welcome witches. To today's video, we're going to go over the worst books I have read in the first half of 2025. I'm splitting this up by genre, specifically genres that I have read, not necessarily all of them because I haven't read all of them, but I did film my best of, which should already be up. Please go watch that. Also, please like, subscribe, comment, do all the fun stuff, being a real YouTuber here. So there's a couple of categories that I did in my best of that I'm not going to do in my worst of, and I will still put how many in that genre that I've read, and specifically like biography, memoir. There's none that I didn't like and disliked enough that I would even put on my worst, so I'm not going to do anything for that. Nonfiction, I really didn't read that much nonfiction, so I don't have anything in the nonfiction category to add in. Those are two that you won't see those categories, but I did have a best of. Let's go ahead and start with fantasy. The worst fantasy I have read this year is A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas. I read the entire series this year. I enjoyed the first two. The third really started to lose me. Could have wrapped up at that point. After that, I disliked him. This was the worst. The only saving grace is that it's from a different character's point of view. But as each story went on, and specifically this one, it felt like I was just reading the same smut scenes over and over and over that weren't adding necessarily value to the story. It was losing its very fantasy aspect to it and becoming more of a smut romantasy versus a fantasy. So it really lost me. I think this could have been a fraction of the size. It also felt very similar to Favor's story, but we're just having the same story through Nestra's, which was weird because it's happening after Favor's story and not necessarily like in conjunction with, so it just felt very repetitive and it lost me. I do just need to throw in Midyear by Avery Ames only because I DNF'd it. This is essentially a fanfic of A Court of Thorn and Roses. Had I not just got done reading A Court of Thorn and Roses, maybe this wouldn't have bugged me because I don't think the writing's necessarily bad in that sense. I still think the writing is good. I just got really annoyed of it felt like a play-by-play, just slightly different. So in A Court of Thorn and Roses, she loves to paint. In this one, she likes music. In A Court of Thorn and Roses, Feyre hates fairies. She loves fairies. It just felt like you were taking what happened in A Court of Thorn and Roses and just changing it a little bit. It was too similar, so I ended up DNFing it. So I have to throw that in there just because I technically did DNF it. So that would have to be a worst, but yes. The next category is fiction, and really this one comes down to writing style. I did not enjoy the writing style, and that is A Cemetery of Untold Stories by Julia Alvarez. I think that this writing style is going to work for people where it's snippets of little stories throughout the book that don't necessarily directly tie to each other. I just really didn't understand the writing style. That writing style wasn't for me, so that's really what it is about. But this woman writes stories. Her best friend is this author. She turns out she has schizophrenia, and then her author friend dies, and this woman's parents end up dying. She gets some land, and it's by a trash dumping place. She decides to turn this place into a cemetery of untold stories, and to get in, you have to speak a story. It's a good story. They let you in, and she built a cemetery of her untold stories, which I think the concept is really great. I think this has a very literary, poetic, mind-provoking, thought-provoking style to it. And that style just didn't work for me, but I still think it's well done. I'm definitely an audience for this. The next one is historical fiction, and I want to preface, I think this is well done. I think the characters are well done, but it's On the Rooftop by Margaret Wilkerson Sexton. I'm not big lover of music, so I think that I lost a lot of the passion and love that this story shows, because this is following three girls who developed the singing trio, and their mom's being a manager, trying to get them signed, get them developed, but all of them kind of have their own wants and their dreams. They're not all necessarily the same. They're not all in line with becoming these musicians. And they all really love music and it's incorporated into their lives, but some more than others. Some want really to be a family. Another one wants to go use her music to make a statement at protests and fight for causes and things like that. So I think it's really well done. The characters are really well-rounded. I think that somebody who really loves music is going to love this. And also, this was just like my least favorite of historical fiction. I have not read that much historical fiction, so really I wouldn't say that this is a bad book. It's just my least favorite. The next one, I think this is a thriller horror. It depends really on what day you look at it on Goodreads, but The House at the End of the World by Dean Koontz. I need to just accept that I am not a Dean Koontz fan. I don't like his books. The woman's almost like terrified of the world, so she lives on this lake in like this fortified area, and something's happening off, like there's bombs and explosions, and essentially she's the house at the end of the world. Honestly, I don't know. It kind of went out of my mind. I did not enjoy reading this. I thought it was just, I did not enjoy it. We're going to leave it at that. I really don't have much to say about it. So this is kind of a horror thriller mix, because I think of it more as a thriller, but it's listed as a horror some places. So take that with a grain of salt. I also have to obviously mention the horror that I DNF'd, which was It by Stephen King. It's really long. It's a Stephen King book. I'm not invested in it. I kept reading it, and then I'd be like, I feel like I'm missing something. I feel like I'm not paying attention. I'd go back and reread it, or I'd try and read and listen, and I just couldn't get engaged in the story. I couldn't really care. Just maybe not in the mood for a Stephen King It book at the time, but obviously because I DNF'd it, it kind of needs to go in the worst of. My least favorite mystery is A Killing in Costumes by Zach Bissonette. I think that my expectations going into this wasn't necessarily right. I was kind of thinking it was going to be a cozy, like, murder mystery love story, which I guess it is, but these characters, like, everything's so perfect. They're so understanding of each other. It's a little silly. This gives a little bit of a cozy mystery vibes, and it's a little bit over the top, but there's these two older couple. They used to be really famous actors, actresses. Her dream, they were married also. Then they got a divorce because the husband turns out he was gay. So they got a divorce. And her dream has always been to open this Hollywood memorabilia shop called Hooray for Hollywood. So together they open up this Hooray for Hollywood. They're going to get another actress's collection, and they're like up against another auction house. They go for some reason to visit the other person buying for the auction stuff, and then he turns up dead, and now they're the prime suspects. So it's kind of fun. It's kind of cute. I just think that there didn't feel like there was a lot at stake. Everybody just kind of got along too well. Characters were a little bit annoying. It didn't have very great character development. The story and the plot line were kind of cute, kind of fun. Not terribly executed, but I definitely think that this could have been done better. So my least favorite romance was The Only Purple House in Town by Anne Aguirre. This is part of the Fix It Witch series. I think it's the last one. And I hated this. I hated the main character. I have loved all the other ones. She's just terrible. She takes no accountability for anything. She just can't get her life together. She knows what she needs to be doing, and yet chooses not to do it. So I just really despise the main character. I think that the relationships were terrible. I think that the romance conversation that gets behind there was awful. I just think that the first three are very cute. They're very heartwarming. Are they out of this world? No, but they're pretty solid reads that when you read them, you enjoy them, you put them down, you move on. This one literally irritates me, and I really dislike this book. I annotated this. And the main characters' love interest. So it's Iris and Eli. Yeah, Eli. Eli is a creep. The things that he does is disgusting and creepy. So I had literally a tab for creepy things that this Eli man does. He blinked away the emotions and focused on his breakfast. Hopefully he wouldn't lose it over breaking the ritual of checking Iris's social habit. Habit sounded less compulsive because he literally checks her socials every day. I need to find the one that just gets me the most. Things, this man should go to jail. I'm sure it's supposed to be funny, but the way he's written, it just sounds creepy. And like, if this man could, he would probably take advantage. We'll leave it at that. But so he's moving in because he's lied to her about what he does and that he needs a roommate. So she's going to become a roommate. And instead of just being like, yeah, I don't need to be a roommate, he's like, yeah, I'm gonna pay you and be a roommate and like all this stuff because she can't keep her life together. She now thinks that he flips houses. So when she's giving him the key to her house, it has this little like tape measure. And she gives it to him and he's like, she says, I thought these were cute based on what you did. And he's like, oh, it's because she thinks they flip houses and build websites. That's really sweet of you. I'm sure I'll get a lot of use out of these. Really? Sure. Hell, he'd measure his own dick to keep her smiling with such delight. Not a thought he'd ever expect to have, but Iris had a way of doing that to him. Why is measuring your dick going to make her happy and smile with delight? I don't know. And you can see I have quite a bit of like pink places. And he just stalks her in every way that he can. And he's creepily like living in her house under false pretenses. Terrible. Next category is thriller, and that's going to be The Day After Party by Nicole Trope. For how short this was, this book felt like it went on forever. And it was the same stuff over and over and over and over. This is following Caitlin. She's throwing herself a birthday party, but then she wakes up in the hospital. She has no recollection of this party, and something's definitely off with her husband, with her best friend. She's trying to figure that out. Oh, the whole time she's like, I think they're having an affair. Spoiler alert, they were having an affair. So she like knows what's going on, but she continually is like going over the same potential thought process. But I didn't feel like as a reader, she was really doing anything to solve it necessarily. Like we were having the same thoughts and conversations and questions over and over and over in every turn that we took. And I think that despite how short this is, it felt like it was super long. It felt like we were having the same conversations. It didn't feel like it had a lot of depth, a lot of layers to it. Just felt very surface level, very boring. The characters didn't feel very fleshed out. I think the concept was really great. I think that maybe this needed a little bit more revision and execution to be well done. Our last category is YA, and so I'm going to have to go with Wyvern Hill and Wolf Cry. This is by Amelia Atwater Rhodes. These are both in the same series. One I finished, one I DNF, which is why I'm mentioning both of them. This is part of the Keshra series, which these are YA. I was a big fan of Amelia Atwater Rhodes growing up. Her Den of Shadows series was my favorite. I never really got into this, so I will just say that that's part of it. This is YA. It's not necessarily for my age group, very surface level. It felt like it dragged on. There could have been more to it. The character development was there, but maybe not particularly great. That this is a very subjective opinion and just not quite for me. That's going to wrap it up for the worst books I've read so far in 2025. Thank you for watching. Please like, subscribe, comment, do all that fun stuff. Let me know what your least favorite books you've read this year are, and I will see you in the next one. Bye, witches.